Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another episode. Today I've got a good one for you. It has to do with a question I received from a subscriber that wants to know what my most versatile baits are. They explained to me that they like to fish from the bank, they like to fish from a kayak, and they also are on a very strict budget, and therefore they can't afford to have a ton of tackle and they don't have room to carry a ton of tackle with them. They said they have a couple of bait casters that they take within the kayak as well as when they're walking the banks, but in either case they don't have room for a ton of tackle, and they wanted to know my opinion as to what my favorite most versatile baits are. And it's a great question because it's something that I've been really kind of focusing on more as I get a little older. I know I've got a ton of tackle in this room, but really, guys, most of this tackle that you see is stuff that I bought on clearance or I've had for 15 years. I buy a lot less tackle these days. I've really actually been trying to pare down my tackle and get rid of a lot of tackle because there's stuff that I just don't use. A lot of stuff that's hanging on the wall, like I said, were things that I bought that were on very, very big discount, either at like a fishing show or just someplace was on clearance and I could buy packs of plastic for $1 a pack or something along those lines. But I don't buy nearly as much tackle anymore, and the tackle that I buy, a lot of it is about versatility. What are some baits that I can use for multiple different situations? And that's what I want to talk about today. I've got 5 here. It was hard to pick out just 5 because there's so many different categories of baits, but I do have 5 here that I'll explain how I use them and why I think they're so versatile and why you should have them in your bag. I'll give you the specific ones I like, but really it's more about a general type of bait. So, if you have one that you prefer more, that's fine. You'll be able to use it in the same manner that I use the bait that I prefer. Before I do get into that, I do want to remind you guys that if you're looking for additional content from me, I do have a members only channel where we've got monthly live streams as well as additional videos for the members. You can also have direct access to me if you've got questions and comments that you want to talk about with me. So check out my members only page, as well as if you're looking to support the channel, please use my Tackle Warehouse affiliate link that I provide in the description of the videos. It's a great way to show your support for the channel, and the little bit of money that I make from that goes right back into the channel and pays for my expenses to get out on the water and to film a bunch of these videos. So thanks for all of you that have been using that already. And hey guys, if you want to support the channel and don't want to forget about it, you can always bookmark that Tackle Warehouse affiliate link as well. Okay, so let's talk about some of these most versatile baits. The first one I'm going to start with is just the Berkeley Maxcent General. It's a stick worm for those of you, some of you might prefer the Cinco, some of you might prefer like a Yum Dinger. Whatever it is, you really should have a stick worm like the Berkeley General in your tackle bag for the main reason that it's so versatile. And what I mean by that is you can fish this in almost any manner. If you want to wacky rig it like most people would, you can. You can Texas rig it. You can pitch it into cover. You can put it on a Carolina rig. You can even use it as a trailer. It's a very underrated trailer. A lot of guys throw it on jigs. A lot of guys throw it on chatterbaits. It's something that you can use in almost any manner. You can weight it. You can fish it unweighted. So you can cover almost the entire water column with it. It's also potentially one of the best fish catching baits that we have on the market today. There's a reason that every company makes a soft stick bait, and it's because it catches fish. It really is one you need to have in your tackle bag. If I could only pick one color, I'd go with a green pumpkin color like this. It's just probably the best all-around color. Even in dirty water, you'll still get bit on green pumpkin. It is a darker shade of hue. Watermelon is kind of more for your clear water. Green pumpkin still works just fine in dark water as well as clear water. So you're gonna have to have a stick worm because it is a bait you can use in almost any technique. That's how good it is. So that would be my number one overall most versatile bait. Next up, I've got a jig. This is probably my favorite jig. This is the Dirty Jigs Luke Clausen Compact Pitch and Jig. And I've got here a 3-inch Berkeley Pit Boss, which has been my absolute favorite trailer of late for jigs. Not just jigs, but almost anything. Buzz baits, spinner baits, chatter baits. It doesn't really matter. The little 3-inch Pit Boss is a phenomenal trailer, and it fits these jigs just perfectly. But here's the key with a jig. A jig is the bait that you need to have in your tackle bag because of its weedlessness. So if you're fishing from the bank or a kayak or a boat and you're fishing, say, rock, wood, weed, a jig is probably the most weedless bait on the market across all situations. So I would have to have a jig in my top 5 versatile baits. And here are the other reasons why. Because you can fish it deep, down to 30 feet of water, all the way to a foot of water. So you can fish it throughout the entire water column. It's a great, great bottom bait. But again, it comes down for me, it's about the weedlessness. So if I got to have one bait that's weedless and catches fish and catches big fish, I'm going to go with a jig. Um, Again, it's just one of those baits that you're going to have because you can throw it in almost any situation. If you've got clear water, you can throw it. If you've got muddy water, you can throw it. But really, if you're just walking the bank and you want to cast it out, you can cast it out and drag it back to the boat and feel pretty comfortable about not getting snagged up. I would definitely go with a jig. So next up, I've got, and I just mentioned this on the jig trailer, but the 4-inch Berkeley Pit Boss. The reason here for is you got to have a Texas rig bait. And the thing is, this bait is not just a Texas rig bait. As I just mentioned, I love to use it as a trailer as well. I really like the 3 inches of trailer, but you can do the same with a 4-inch. You can cut off a 1/2 inch or even an inch of the 4-inch bait and still use it as a trailer. But you got to have one plastic bait that you feel like you can use in almost any situation. So the reason I like the Pit Boss, and this is kind of taking over for most of my plastics because of its versatility. You can throw it on a Carolina rig, it works great. You can pitch it just as a straight Texas rig, it works great. But again, you can use it in a trailer and all those different situations. So if I'm going to pick a plastic bait that I want to use as a Texas rig bait, primarily as a Texas rig bait, you want to pick something that also you can transfer over to some of these other techniques, whether it's a Carolina rig or whether it's just as a trailer on a buzz bait or on a spinner bait or on a jig. And therefore, if I'm carrying the Pit Boss, I know I can use that in almost any other situation. If I were to carry, say, a big brush hog or a big creature bait, I'm a little bit more limited on that because I can use a brush hog as a trailer, but it's not going to be my top trailer choice, whereas a Pit Boss is a top trailer choice for me. So if you're gonna pick one Texas rig in your top 5 most versatile baits, you should choose one that's also going to carry over good into other types of fishing and other techniques as well. And that's where the Pit Boss comes in really good for me. So next up, I struggled a little bit because I wanted to have a crankbait, but what I ended up going with was a Lipless. Now, my all-time favorite Lipless crankbait is the Xcalibur XRK50. This has been discontinued, so you can't get this at the moment, but this is a phenomenal bait. A Lipless is an absolute killer bait all year long, and again, you can fish it through a lot of situations. The one that you can get that I use as well is the Berkeley War Pig. If this is my go-to come tournament time, this is the one that I go to if I don't have this. So the War Pig is really becoming one that I really, really love as well. But in either case, a lipless bait, I'm going to choose over a straight crankbait because I can fish it as a crankbait. Like a lipless is one of my favorite offshore structure fishing baits. It takes a little bit longer to get it down to the depth, but the reason I like it more than a crankbait in a lot of situations is because I know I can get it to the bottom. Meaning if I'm fishing 16 or 17 feet, I know I can get the lipless to the bottom because it sinks. I might not always be able to get my crankbait down to the bottom. And if I do, it means I'm throwing a 20-foot diving crankbait, which means I'm kind of limited again. So, if I'm trying to limit the number of baits that I can choose, if you want to carry crankbaits, you're almost going to have to carry 4 or 5 different sizes of crankbaits, from a square bill down to like a 20-foot diver. I can cover that entire range with a lipless crankbait. So that's the reason I'm going to choose a lipless crankbait in this case. The other thing I really like about a lipless is it works great through weed. It works great on shallow flats. It's a very, very versatile bait in terms of the water depths that you can fish it, the watercolors you can fish it, and seasonally, it's one of the best baits year round. It's a killer in the spring, it's a killer in the summer, it's a killer in the fall. You catch them year round on it. So I'm going to go with a lipless crankbait over a standard crankbait. in this case. You know, there are definitely times a standard crankbait will outperform a lipless crankbait. But again, if I'm limited to the amount of tackle I'm going to carry, I'm going to go with the lipless. Next up, I've got here a spinnerbait. This is my favorite. It's a War Eagle spinnerbait. Just again, a 1/2 ounce. All of these sizes are really the 1/2 ounce size. It's a 1/2 ounce Dirty Jigs Lou Clausen Compact, the 1/2 ounce lipless, 1/2 ounce spinnerbait. It's one of the most standard sizes. It's a very versatile size. You can fish them shallow. You can still get them down deeper if you want. The spinnerbait to me, though, is an extremely versatile bait, again, for several reasons. It's a very weedless bait. You can fish it deep. You can fish it shallow. You can fish it in clear water. You can fish it in dirty water. And it's a year-round bait. I think there are times when other baits that you would fish in similar situations, like your vibrating jigs or a swim jig, can outperform a spinnerbait. But both of those baits, a swim jig and a chatterbait, are a little bit more limited, in my opinion, as to how you're going to fish them, where you're going to fish them, and the times of year you're going to fish them. A spinnerbait kind of covers the gamut really well again. So these are the baits, guys. If you are limited on a budget, you have limited space with the amount of tackle you can carry, I can feel very strongly in saying that if you carry just these 5 baits or these 5 types of baits, if you don't want to use any of these baits, but you want to find baits that are in similar types of categories, I think these are the baits that you need to carry. Like if I were putting together a box just to take with me to walk the bank with, these are the baits that I would have, and I would be able to fish from shallow to deep, and it would be baits that aren't going to break the bank either. So check them out. I hope this was a good video for you. I would love to hear what baits you guys think are the most versatile. There were other baits that I really thought about putting in this top 5, and it took me a little longer than I thought because I really kind of went back and forth with some other baits, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say as well. And I'm sure a lot of the other viewers would like to know what your thoughts are too, because this is a question that I've gotten multiple times from lots of other people. So please share in the comment section with the rest of us. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, guys. That would really help me out as well. And hit that like button too if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. We'll have another video coming out tomorrow for you.